Hello, welcome back. All right. As we move into our final presentation of our daytime program, I'm very pleased to introduce Alice Bucknell. But before we begin, I just want to say a few acknowledgements. Thank you to Naomi Sam, who has an installation in the adjacent gallery, and thank you for the tech support. In the adjacent gallery is a multimedia work that expands the themes of this program spatially and atmospherically, and I encourage everyone to spend some time with it. And thank you in advance to the artists performing in our evening program, which begins tonight at 7. It'll be Kalobo, John Miranda, Kabibo, and Kai Luan Liang. Deep gratitude as well to the Spectra Studio team, Harvey Moon, Carrie Chen, China Smith, Jay Bogwart, Mark Hashimoto, and Don Elder for their generosity and collaboration in making this possible. And to Rip Space, which is myself, Maisa Emamovich, and Naomi Sam. And thank you. And just a quick note that after this performance, we ask that everyone steps outside so we can switch out for the evening program. Now to Alice. Alice Bucknell is an artist, writer, and educator based in Los Angeles. Their work explores the effective dimensions of video games as interfaces for understanding complex systems, relationships, and forms of knowledge. They're deeply invested in the ecological dimensions of play, thinking of games as embodied technologies that dissolve binaries between human and non-human, natural and synthetic intelligence, self, and world. Their work has been exhibited internationally at institutions including Center Pompidou, Kunsthal Praha, Ars Electronica, Transmediale, the Venice Architectural Biennale, Serpentine Galleries, and many others. In 2025, their video game, The Alluvials, was acquired by SF MoMA, becoming the first video game to enter the museum's permanent collection. Yeah. They are a recipient of the 2025 Creative Capital Award, a former CERN CC resident, and they teach world building, game design, and philosophies of technology at SciArc in UCLA. And I wanted to include Alice in this program because of the depth of their research. The worlds they construct across film, game engines, and lecture performance are densely layered with historical, scientific, ecological, architectural, and cultural inquiry. And yet the work operates on multiple registers at once. The visuals are immersive and poetic. They can be experienced aesthetically while also carrying rigorous conceptual frameworks beneath the surface. The ability to move between these layers is rare. Today, Alice will present All the World's Polygons, a lecture performance that is exploring ecological simulation in gaming, the bleed between entertainment and climate forecasting, and the paradox of predictive technologies that may foreclose other possible futures. Told in 3 parts, the work moves from the affective allure of simulated nature to the planetary scale of geospatial hypervision. The project continues to evolve alongside their research, and we're fortunate to encounter it in motion. Please join me in welcoming Alice Bucknell.
Thank you. That was such a generous introduction, Vera. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for being here. I know it's been a long day. I know it's really hot in here. The good news is I think All the World's Polygons is the last thing standing between you and a cool, refreshing beer in a cool, refreshing courtyard experience. So we're almost there, you know, just gotta power through. And thank you for, your persistence. All right, let's do this. How real is your world? How do you know? Maybe it's the gentle sway of leaves in the wind, or the sound of crickets chirping at dusk. Maybe it's the softness of light in the summertime. Take a step back and blink. Turn your head to the side. Are you sure? From the earliest 8-bit bush in The Legend of Zelda to the peacock sublime of Death Stranding, video games have long been on a quest for perfect simulation. The benefits are obvious. More immersive gameplay equals more profit. From real-time weather systems to 3D scanned environments, an economy of simulated nature has emerged to answer to gaming's demands. But is this desire for ecological simulation also a kind of capture? This talk explores how simulation in gaming carries echoes from the past, even as its implications careen towards the future. The same computing platforms powering next-generation immersive gaming are also powering the next climate forecasting models that are going to tell us whether geoengineering, blocking out the heat of the sun, is a good idea. Consider the real-time digital Earth twins of the planet currently being assembled as the conceptual sibling of a natural history museum, with all the related baggage. Consider the implications of this archive that floats incandescently above us in the cloud. Consider the energy funneled into its maintenance, ironically contributing to the slow death of the real thing. What new ways of relating to the world do simulation technologies inevitably open? And what do they also foreclose? In order to answer these questions, we need to meet them where they're at, inside the game engine. Part 1, 2 kinds of wind. In cinema, there is the wind that is being blown and the wind blown by a machine. In computer games, there is only one kind of wind. Haroon Farokhi, Parallel 1. When the German artist and maker Haroon Farokhi transcended this mortal plane in 2014, he left behind one of the most prescient analyses of video games and culture. Across 4 acts, Parallel 1 to 4 analyzes the perpetual feedback loop between simulation and culture. The project explores how virtual environments map the present and anticipate the future, even while largely reinforcing historical ways of knowing the world. It's ironic that the video game industry places environmental realism as its representational benchmark, considering its output is largely centered around violent and human-centric modes of play. Trees shuddering in the wind, clouds unfurling overhead, dappled sunlight on swaying leaves. These have long been the stress tests of computational photorealism. Video games must render their worlds in real time with each playthrough. As you can probably tell from my overheating laptop and the occasional skipped frame, this requires an immense amount of computational muscle. As the software grows more powerful, the hardware must follow exponentially. Consider the 𝐀𝐥𝐢 model, the world's first supercomputer, built from dairy hose pipes in Wisconsin in 1972, was far less powerful than the smartphone in your pocket. Compare that to El Capitan, the most powerful supercomputer in the world, brought online in California in November 2024. El Capitan runs at a speed of 1.8 exaflops, capable of calculating almost 2 quintillion calculations per second. More real, more beautiful. With the arrivals of titles like Death Stranding, Firewatch, and The Last of Us, we edge ever closer to the ludic sublime. And yet, the technologies underpinning these games are riddled with violence. Tennis for Two, largely considered the world's first video game, was crafted with missile tracking technology by a bunch of bored scientists killing time in the lab. Space War, developed a decade later with the PDP-1 computer model, was funded by the Pentagon and later used in military training. And yet, a realistic landscape, for that is what game worlds are termed, is a choice of syntax that reinforces their status as secondary and inert. The believability of a body of water or a blade of grass aggregates to reinforce what the video game scholar Ian Bogost called the magic circle, or the narrative world of a game. Hiroki's death predated the Cambrian explosion of simulated ecology in the late 2010s, realized through 3D scanned megamoles with thousands of free-to-use natural assets, as well as powerful photogrammetry models, which allow anyone to make a homebrewed 3D model of virtually anything. One wonders what the artists would think about a photorealistic tree trunk scanned in from Iceland that now appears simultaneously in a text-based adventure game about a park ranger on the run from his dying wife, and a post-human mycelium zombie survival game, amongst thousands of other titles. Building lifelike game environments has never been so easy and in some sense so unremarkable. The question then becomes, what else does game worlds be capable of? Part 2. All the world's polygons. We live to capture this world, to give life to countless others. We capture the world so that you can create your own. Quixel advertising campaign, 2018. There is a park some 40 miles northwest of Los Angeles that looks ancient, as if plucked from some Martian science fiction story. Gigantic primordial rocks thrust sideways into the sky like cosmic daggers. Its cinematic otherworldliness is really no stranger to Hollywood. The Vasquez Rocks State Park lies within the 30-mile studio zone of the industry, permitting a cheap actor and crew day rate. As a result, dozens of iconic movies, pre-CGI world building, were filmed here. Over a century, this ancient landscape has been Dr. Evil's underground complex in Austin Powers, the planet Vulcan in Star Wars, and, a little unconvincingly, Dracula's rural Transylvania. Hollywood's plug-and-play approach to the Vasquez Rocks serves as a precedent to its contemporary use of virtual production. As an increasingly integral tool in the industry's production pipelines, the game engine can really be thought of as one huge stage set. Things are sculpted, painted, meticulously lit, and precisely filmed. There's a constant negotiation between environmental complexity and render time efficiency that determines how these worlds are made. This tension is crucial to how game engines have evolved over the years. In computer graphics, 3D models are primarily made up of polygons. These are flat surfaces composed of vertices. A higher poly model is more realistic, but also requires more computational power to render. This causes more lag. To combat this, game engines will often only render out the polygons that are visible on screen, adjusting their level of detail to the distance from the camera, a technique known as billboarding. As the name implies, billboarding reinforces the understanding of virtual environments as mere backdrops against which the real action of the game world takes place. Wherever the camera's eye turns, reality grows. Curiously, this representational tactic has overlaps with medieval theories of vision. Philosophers in the Middle Ages believed that vision was a world-creating technology wielded exclusively by humans. Reality as we knew it emanated outwards from the human eyes. This is a concept known as emission theory. In a sense, the camera-centric computation of the game engine also mirrors the essentialist origins of ecosystem science. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a centralized technique for tracking and monitoring forest ecologies was introduced by the timber economy. This fiscal forestry only visualized value. Any parts of the ecosystem that were considered unproductive, such as flora, fauna, fungi, other keystone species, were simply left out of the model as if they didn't exist. As essentialist as it is, there's also something kind of interesting about this way of understanding ecosystems. It suggests that the virtual world is natively complex and will only reveal itself in slivers, materializing just when the player pays close enough attention. Despite the increased efficiency, rendering nature is still a drag. Animating foliage takes time, and building entire biomes requires at least some sense of specialized knowledge. Companies like XProg were the early response calls to this demand for express mode nature, offering a suite of hyper-realistic 3D natural assets. These platforms catered principally towards architectural designers who needed a believable, ecological backdrop biome to clinch the deal on their speculative architecture projects. XProg's main clients currently include Frank Gehry and Zaha Hadid architects. XProg offers all the world's polygons for the low price of $600. Customers can hone in on entire continental ecologies such as Asia, Europe, or the ambiguously titled Americas at $200 each. Epic Games, the parent company of Unreal Engine, deployed an interesting ecological countermove in 2019. It bought Quixel, a 3D asset company headquartered in Malmö, Sweden. From 2011 to 2024, Quixel offered a free, ever-expanding ecological library of 3D resources, scanned in by hand by its globe-trekking pack of 250 employees. In 2025, 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜 consolidated 𝐀𝐥𝐥 with its own marketplace. 𝐀𝐥𝐥 consolidated 𝐀𝐥𝐥𝐜 with its own marketplace, transforming this ecological archive into purchasable assets. 𝐀𝐥𝐥's move to paywall nature is a problematic vibe shift. Putting a price and proprietorship on a virtual Earth index. With a not so humble mission to scan in the whole world, 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜 is well on its way. Its offerings range from Boston ferns to horse manure, Cambodian ruins to chicken nuggets. All in all, that's over 18,000 textures, brushes, plants, man-made and natural objects, alongside photorealistic scans of entire 3D world scenes. Collections, as they're called. Off the peg, curated worlds for the taking. At the time of this talk, 𝐀𝐥𝐥's current collections include Roadside Construction, Medieval Banquet, and Junkyard Volume 1. Like a cyber scavenger, I sift through the digital detritus of the junkyard, which, as its name hints, will presumably be replaced with a better, junkier edition. Scrolling past photorealistic rusty jerry cans, rusty gas tanks, rusty metal sheets, wall-mounted chains, and a completely filthy cluster of oil containers. My eye is drawn to the humble trash pile. Zooming in on the cluster of nondescript garbage, I catch flickers of an engineered story. A gummy scrap of paper with the word dentist scrawled on it. A sealed envelope, tantalizingly face side down, whose contents could be anything. I think about the kind of person who art directs these assets, positioning them just so and then slowly scanning them in, immortalizing lovingly these worlds within worlds. Where do these objects come from? What kind of stories will they scaffold? 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜 and its predecessors are ultimately finite world inventories. Particularly astute gamers will notice the same ecological asset appearing in multiple titles. Triggering what's known as immersion break, when a player is violently ejected from the believability of a virtual world. Yet, with the rapid leaps being made in 3D scanning apps and an increasing number of budding game designers scanning in real-world assets to personalize their own games, it's entirely possible that a whole Earth database comprising of millions of contributors' scans may come into existence in the near future. Teddy Bergsman, the founder of 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜, believes that it will happen in the next 5 years. Recalling the museological impulse to immortalize in glossy vitrines all the world's life, the desire fueled by colonialism, the invention of taxonomy in the 18th century, and the conceptualization of extinction in the 17th. These digital doubles, to me, feel inescapably like a preemptive memento mori for a world in crisis. Dazzled by the lifelike indexes of these virtual ecology megamalls, I am left with the darker implication of their capture. Does a perfect replica of all the world's polygons neutralize or negate the desire to protect the real thing? Part 3, second bodies and twin planets. For the second body, there is no stable boundary between one species and the other. We're all in the same boat. The Second Body by Daisy Hildyard. What is the second body? Let's maybe start with the first. That one's pretty straightforward. It's the one you see right in front of you when you look down. Your hands, your legs. It's you, bounded. The second body is a little less easy to define. It's the flights you take, the food you consume, the clothes you buy, the miles you drive, and simultaneously, it's all of those things acting upon a global, shared body. You can think of the first and second body as something like a pair of nested dolls, except wired up to each other, one body sensing and influencing the other in a perpetual feedback loop. No player versus landscape, no subject versus backdrop. No real separation at all. How to describe this feeling? The language we have at the moment is weak, Hildyard suggests. Frustrated by the apparent impossibility of describing an idea that butts up against the limits of language itself. I want to start, she suggests, by talking about the whole world. It's planets all the way down. The second body hints at the idea of an interconnected biosphere that was earlier hypothesized by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis in their Gaia hypothesis in 1974. Contrast this with Earthrise, the first full Earth image taken from outer space, captured in 1968. Earthrise is often said to have triggered an awareness of the ecological codependency of the planet. But paradoxically, Earthrise also framed the Earth as a closed and bounded system, something mappable, modifiable, fully knowable. What does it mean to see the planet in this way? How do digital Earth twins shape our understanding of the Earth and our relationship with the real one. To dig deeper, we need to visit them at their spawn point, a lakeside picnic in Chicago. Okay, wrong spawn point. My bad. There we go. In 1977, just a few years after Earthrise and the Gaia hypothesis sketched the idea of a planetary body, the designer duo Charles and Ray Eames released Powers of 10, a filmic pregame to the God's eye view of satellite imagery. The film starts on a picnic blanket in Chicago's Lakeshore Park. In an unbroken 10-minute-long tracking shot, the camera dilates to the furthest known reaches of the universe. It then plunges back down to Earth, entering into the subatomic, cosmic scale of quarks inside a picnicker's hand. Powers of 10 stokes the fantasy of an infinite zoom. Google even cites the film as inspiration for its Maps interface. When the first GPS satellite was launched into space a year later, the technological underpinning of digital Earth twins was born. A digital Earth twin is a real-time virtual model of physical objects or systems. DETs are hardly a new technology. They've been used by airports to monitor passenger flow and security. Cities from Singapore to Chicago use them in urban planning. Surgeons practice on a digital double of a heart or a brain before making a first cut into the real deal. But the concept of scaling up a digital double to a planet-sized model is a newer and more complicated idea. In March 2024, NVIDIA, whose state-of-the-art graphics card power the gaming industry, announced Earth-2, its very own digital twin of the Earth's climate systems. The platform is marketed as a tool for more accurately predicting extreme weather events, as well as mitigating the impacts of the climate crisis. However, NVIDIA is simultaneously pitching Earth-2's larger platform, the Omniverse ecosystem, to major fossil fuel companies in order to streamline extraction and increase revenue. Of course, Earth-2 is hardly a standalone case. Dozens of digital Earths have entered the simulated fray in recent years, including rival systems from NASA, the European Space Agency, Microsoft, and Cesium, the 3D map you see here. High-ish accuracy, certainly high performance, time dynamic digital Earth twins for future casting our worlds and offering more immersive gameplay. But what do we give up in order to see our worlds in increasingly high resolution? Satellites shape how we sense our world, but their information layer clouds over our ability to sense worlds beyond. Electromagnetic pollution from satellite megaswarms like SpaceX's Starlink fleet interfere with outer space radio waves, turning the planet's orbital zone into a trick mirror of garbled information. The result? Colossal radio telescope systems on Earth, some still under construction, are already on the cusp of becoming obsolete. It's strange to imagine the cosmic eye of FAST, a 500-meter wide dish nestled in a karst depression in southwestern China, as a megalithic ruin, a future archaeological relic of a time when we could sense everything from the ground. Astronomers warn of an inflection point within the next decade where earthbound radio astronomy will no longer be possible. Noise pollution from private satellites will prevent us from sensing cosmic activity that evades the visual, like black holes, the origins of the universe, or alien life. It's ironic that the desire to render our worlds in increasingly higher resolution may end up blinding us to the worlds beyond it. Predictive modeling closes down the realm of possible futures into one single most likely future. But whose value systems and whose models are left out of the world entirely? I wanted to better understand the implications of model bias in climate forecasting. So a couple summers back, I took a research trip to NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research, in the rugged plains of Cheyenne, Wyoming, sandwiched between a Microsoft data center and a Bitcoin mining farm. The supercomputer 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜 sits inside a glossy postmodernist building. 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜's main goal is to simulate a future Earth atmosphere under various forms of solar geoengineering. This includes spraying sulfur dioxide particles into the stratosphere to artificially block out the sun. But over a cigarette break with one of the climate scientists in NCAR's parking lot, I am told that these $35 million calculations run by 𝐀𝐥𝐢𝐜 may as well be useless. She explained the whole paradox and complexity of her research to me as I watch a cute gecko climbing up the side of NCAR's extreme weather event, hand-painted cowboy boot. When we evaluate the accuracy of future climate predictions, we assess the supercomputer models on how well they simulate the past, she tells me. But the problem is, we are moving into a climate future that is behaving very differently than what we've seen before. How do we know what we don't know? How do you account for the cosmic void of unknowing between grid points? Obsessed by this question, I extend the reach of my research. I go looking for the uncomputable inside a digital Earth twin double of the Square Kilometre Array, radio telescopes based in rural Australia. As I comb over the pixelated landscape, its fancy tessellated telescopes flattened into crude blobs, I think about ground truthing, a tactic that's used in both remote sensing and AI training. Ground truthing means data collected on the surface by real 100% human agents, something felt, palpable, embodied, and known. This data is set against the remote information gathered by satellites orbiting us countless times above, used to course correct the model and improve the accuracy of its simulations. All well and good. But a freak sandstorm picks up, rapidly clouding the path in front of me. So much, I guess, for touching grass. I think back to what the NCAR scientists told me back in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Earth's climate is a chaotic pendulum with multiple systems acting upon each other simultaneously. Miscalculating the amount of sea ice in just 1 square kilometer of the North Pole will have an exponential domino effect, scaling up to a wrongly predicted typhoon season in Taiwan. And besides, We are currently so devoid of climate data from world majority countries that it threatens to throw the viability of these models off the charts. The data void is a powerful reminder of Hildyard's second body, this vital point of interconnection between worlds. For the last 2 years, I've been tracking something kind of weird. The slow death of the world's oldest and largest iceberg, known as A23A. Live streamed by satellites in geostationary orbit, A23A's rapid disintegration into thousands of pieces is being meticulously recorded, live streamed, broadcast. Its rapid decay into thousands of pieces in the South Pacific Ocean is eerie to witness. It's sometimes said that mega icebergs are like small planets. If you were to set foot on A23A, you wouldn't realize it's an iceberg floating loose at sea. Its scale would simply fill the horizon. Any movement would be imperceptible. A23A measures 4,000 square kilometers. That's 4 times the size of New York City, 2 times the size of Greater London. Exploring it at a walking pace at the real size scale of the iceberg you see here would take days for the player to cross from one side to the other. Weirdly, the time I've spent smoothing and blending its 3D topography has brought me strangely intimately close with this iceberg, even as it continues to collapse, or maybe especially now. What instead of if conjuring a point of omniscience, digital Earth twins could actually conjure a point of feeling? Perhaps in resisting this fetish for bigger, faster, more accurate models, it would be better instead to zoom in on the map, to let things get fuzzy and indeterminate. Embracing the parts of a digital Earth double that are chaotic, glitchy, unknown, and weird, that dwarf and challenge us as players, that reveal the shifting conditions of our world through embodied experience, could actually end up yielding a new way of relating to Earth 1.0. Like crossing over the magic circle of a role play, I believe there's a valuable bleed between game worlds and world. We have to choose what habits, what forms of knowledge, and what kinds of worlds we want to leave behind. Thank you.